Are you racing Ironman Portugal this October? If so, this is the video for you. Why is that? Because in it, I'm going to cover all you need to know about the swim course, the new bike course, the run course, some cool training sessions that I recommend that you nail before in the last couple of weeks run-in, some equipment recommendations, talk a little bit about nutrition, essentially all you need to know to have a belter of a race day experience. And at the end, I'll throw in something extra that can even prepare you even better. Okay, so who am I? My name is Coach Steve, or Stephen Moody. I am an Ironman U certified coach. I am also an Ironman finisher of 10 plus races, and I've coached a number of athletes to have absolute great times in Cascais on previous races. And I want to share all the info I have with you to help sure you have an excellent race day experience in Cascais. Okay, enough about me. Let's get to it. As I said, we'll cover the swim course, the bike course, the run course, key training sessions, and some non-training prep. Speaking of which, just to make sure that people are always wondering about this, if you are tying down your logistics, I strongly recommend you get out a few days early to allow contingency if anything goes wrong. If you look at other forums, you see people talking about they've forgotten their DIT chargers, they've had a problem with their bike, their bags get lost. You put too much time in this and not to give yourself a huge amount of flex. When you're booking logistics, and we'll talk about that later, give yourself a few days. Good news is getting into Cascais Airport is actually, there's only the best place to get from the international airport to get to Cascais. It's only 30 euros in a taxi. That's your best option. Okay, let's assume that you got there and now you just want to start racing. So let's talk through our swim course. Ironman Cascais is a one loop swim course, which is a horseshoe shape. And I'm going to talk through some kind of key things you need to know. Ironman use a seeded swim system, so they no longer do the mass swim starts of old because it was a bit intimidating for beginners, and also and they want to get as many people involved in Ironman as possible. So we now have a seeded swim system. What's that mean? When you turn up on race day, you will see that there'll be corrals or pens where you have was it under 60-minute swim, under 80-minute swim, under 90-minute swim, yada, yada. And you're meant to seed yourself accordingly to what swim time you think you're going to nail on the day. So if you did in your open water swim sessions, you were swimming around 220 pace, and that's what you do in your long sets in the pool, you go into the under 90-minute swim corral. Do not make the mistake that if you put yourself into the first corral, that will give you an edge on come race day. It won't make a difference in your time, as your time only starts when you cross the mat after you've actually left your corral. It won't make it will actually put you at a disadvantage because you'll be swimming with stronger swimmers who will have no qualms about swimming over you if you're getting in the way. So don't put yourself in that position. You're much better off putting yourself in swimmers of roughly the same sort of ability, because then you can draft off them and actually have a better swim experience. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. So seed yourself accordingly. And how you will enter the water is they will have kind of 5 or so metal barriers, and they'll have volunteers with their arms out, and every 3 seconds a whistle will go or a beep will go, and they'll lift their hands, and then 5 athletes will run in. They bring their hands down. Another 3 seconds, boom, and off you go. That's how the system works. So everyone will get a fair chance to get in the water and all the rest, and it's all very civilized. In Cascais, it's normally very little current or chop because it's in a harbor and it's sheltered. In terms of water temperature, it's not to date there hasn't been any non-wetsuit swims in Cascais, to my knowledge. So this is a beginner-friendly swim course. As you can see, it's fairly simple in terms of just a horseshoe shape. In terms of makes it easier to sight and harder to actually get lost on the course. Even if you are, what I tell the beginners, if you're a nervous swimmer, I tell people the swimmers go wide at the buoys. This is because the fastest place from A to B is actually really close line to the buoy, but that's where you typically have a little bit of physical contact, where people are just all trying to get that same line, and then there can be a little bit of pushing and shoving. If you're nervous, just go wide. You'll stay out of the trouble. In terms of sighting points, it's actually just sight off the buoys. Typically, these will either be yellow or red buoys. On they use red buoys for turning buoys. It's a straight line. So when I talk about sighting, is every kind of was it 6 to 9 strokes, depending on your cycle, that you pop your head up and you say make sure that you're heading in the straight line. And the way you do that is you aim for something that's not going to move around too much. A good sighting point here would also be this jetty here. But then when you're swimming out to the sea, you're going to aim for kind of that buoy. You pop up. If you're heading towards it still, you're in the straight line and you're going in the right direction. If you find yourself in this area, you need to course correct. So sight regularly and often. Draft as much as possible. Drafting in triathlon is legal in the swim, illegal in the bike. But drafting is essentially where you swim very close to another swimmer and you get a benefit because they're breaking the water. You can swim at their hip, you swim at their feet. It's exactly like when you swim close to someone in the pool. It's just easier because they're kind of breaking the water tension. So if you can, find someone's feet. As you're coming back in from after you've done your last turn, you're heading straight in. You'll be heading, this is one of your sighting points here, will be with the big black arch that they have for the swim exit. Make sure you keep on walking and you should be able to see that in the distance. When you're coming in the last kind of 100 to 200 meters, kick your legs a lot more aggressively than you have been. Why is that? Because it helps the blood flow get around the body more because you've been swimming, you've been horizontal for the last 90 minutes, 100 minutes, whatever it is. And then if you suddenly hop up and all the blood drains, you see people get jelly legs and they feel a bit faint. If you kick your legs more, gives you a better chance. One thing to be careful about for Cascais isn't the majority of it's just in the harbor and there's nothing to worry about. But you can see if people have drifted, you can see there's some rocks here, some rocks here, and rocks here. If you can actually end up kind of banging your hand or your feet, so just be careful of that when you're coming in, especially when you're coming in towards the exit. Okay, but all in all, it's a lovely swim and very beginner friendly, so you'll have an epic swim. And then we're into our transition. There is this is one of the harder parts of Cascais because you do actually have to run up a hill and it's actually around 1 kilometer long. So just be prepared for that. It is going to, burn your legs a little, but don't kill yourself. Take your time. Everyone else has to do it. So don't go bananas on this. At this stage, when you go into transition mode, what you should have done the day before the race is have walked the course. So you'll know exactly, okay, that's what Coach Steve was talking about. It is actually a bit of a steep hill. They do have carpet down. Okay, so that's what I'm ready for. But also walk the rest of your transition flow when, as I said, okay, I'm going to get up here. This is where I enter into the changing tent. Fine. This is where I get my blue bag. We'll talk about that in a second. And this is where there's where all the bikes are racked. All the bikes are numbered. So wherever you put your bike will be exactly where you find it. But make sure that you know where to find it. So you find some landmarks. So you go, okay, it's the third rack down. It's halfway up. It's right in line with that kind of like tree. So that's what I'm looking for come race day. Make sure you have all these landmarks identified and sort of note down a piece of paper so you can go over it the night before and make sure that you don't become that person who's lost in transition, wandering around looking, because all the bikes will look very similar when you're a little bit disorientated and discombobulated from swimming in the having that wonderful swim beforehand. In terms of transition, Ironman has very specific rules. One of which is their bag system. It's not like your local domestic race where you can we essentially put your runners, your helmet, and all your bike in the same place, and you just come and transition as you would, like get to the bike, change it. They have to use their specific bags. Excuse me. So you have a blue bag, which is your swim to bike bag, which you have to use. And then therefore, when you go into the transition tent, you'll get this blue bag and you will have your helmet in there, your bike shoes, your your race belt, your shades, etc., whatever else you need. And you drop in your wetsuit and you drop in your goggles and your hat into that bag. So that will be racked and you'll need to grab that. That's numbered by your race number. So you'll need to know where that is. And that's part of your familiarization strategy you walk through. It sounds a bit confusing, the bag strategy. It's not. It's more simple than it sounds. I've done a little video on it. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but in this video in the links below, It talks about what you need to put in your blue bag, what you need to put in your red bag, what you need to put in your white bag, which is your post-race bag, and that will help everything. Okay, so in terms of transitioning, quick request. Hopefully I'm giving you a lot of useful information and more to come about the new bike course and more about the run course. So as a polite request, I'm hoping that I've earned your subscription. Well, please just smash subscribe when you're watching the video. It means that you'll get great content in terms of other stuff that will help you in Cascais and beyond, how to taper, how to use a strength and conditioning next year, nutrition, etc. And that would be great. And it'll help me grow my channel and help more cool athletes like yourself. Okay, enough of the asks. Onto the bike course. Now, this is a new bike course. So as the athletes I have put through Cascais haven't actually done this before. Like, they've done a different course, but it looks a little bit cooler, to be honest. So I've done some sleuthing on the GPX file and I've broken it down for you. So you will be coming out of transition here. And it's the first 5K, it's fairly flat and fast. You're not on exactly on the coast, but a little bit inland. And then you start at 6K, and there's a 5K climb of averages around 3%. And then you turn around and descend. It's flat and it's kind of a sharp enough descent, as you can see here. So you do build up a bit of speed. In terms of road surfaces, if for people who have raced on something like Ironman Barcelona, or in Hamburg or Frankfurt, the road surfaces are not as good as those other main European cities. It is better than the likes of Bolton and the likes of Ironman Cork, etc. But there's surface there and there's some potholes. So just be aware and just keep an eye on the road, etc. Okay. Okay, so back to our course. We've descended. We're down to, was it 16K? We have our second climb then at roughly around 17K. It's, as I said, a little bit shorter than the first climb. Average gradient is roughly the same. Then we're on the kind of a flat part of the course, and they have this new element here, which you actually kind of it sounds brilliant, as in you actually go in and you do a loop of the F1 circuit at around 26K. And then obviously enough on the second loop, that's around 115. So that will be a bit of fun. Then we're back on our road from 48 to 58K. This part here, you're along the coast. It's flat, it's fast, until you do hit the two hills. This is roughly around 43K. It's 2K up, turn around, we go inland, and then back down again. And then you're back onto the coast. This is around 54K where you start the hill, up, and then back down again. There is then roughly around 16K to the turnaround point, and then you're back and you make the return leg all along the coast, nice and flat, as you can see here, to back into where you pass transition again, and then you rinse and repeat. Aid stations are fairly plentiful. So as I said, you do that twice. The aid stations, you've got one at 13, 103, 26, 115. Some are water only, some are full aid stations where they'll have Lucozade bottles, energy bars, Morton gels, bananas, etc. Check the athlete guide when they release that in the next week or two for the exact breakdown of what's going on. But lots of aid stations, so you shouldn't be, and do build them into your nutrition strategy, which I talk a little bit about in the next couple of slides. All in all, it's a challenging enough bike course, and in terms of the hills and the descents, but there are some flat and fast parts on it, so enjoy. Okay, so now we are back to our transition area. Good news is it's not a much easier entry than T1, so you're not running up any hills. It's a single transition, so it's the same place, and that's why you will have walked the opposite way in from where's my dismount line, where do I have to walk back in, where do I rack my bike, where do I run the changing tent, and this time it'll be a red bag, which is bike to run. So you put in now, after you've racked your bike, you run in, you grab your red bag, you put your helmet in there, you put your bike shoes in there, or you've left them on the bike, with your option on that, and then you get your runners on, you get your shades on, any nutrition belt you want, whatever you typically do. We talk about that in equipment slide later on. Again, I show what you should have in your blue bag, your red bag, and your white bag in the video below. Okay, again, hope this is useful. If it is, won't stop the video. Just hit the like button. Again, it helps promote my channel. Greatly appreciate it. The run course. It is actually a lumpy enough run. It's 3 loops, so that's whatever 14k each, and it's in a hilly course. It is key to get your pacing right, and also stay on top of your nutrition. In my mind, what I tell my athletes is to break the course into 10-kilometer blocks, because if you go, okay, because your legs are going to be fried now to a certain extent, because they've had those hills, the descents, and you will have tired legs. And then the idea of actually running a marathon, your head will pop off. So what's much easier to do is break it into 4 by 10-kilometer blocks. It's just mentally easier to deal with. First one, take it easy. Just hold back. It might feel like, oh, I could do this all day. I guarantee you won't. You should be, this would be the type of, you'd be slower than what you've done, your race pace runs, your bricks off the bike, but just make sure you build into it. Make sure you get those legs shook out. Second and third loop, push into what you kind of hit your race pace rhythm for your long bikes, your long runs and your bricks off the long bikes. Start tying that down. Make sure you're keeping on top of your nutrition and your hydration. There's plenty of aid stations here, roughly around one every kind of 2.5, 3 kilometers. Do not miss an aid station. It's absolutely key. And fourth, and you're on your third last lap at this stage, just dig in and hit there. And as I said, look at this profile. It is lumpy. So make sure you take it easy on the uphills, and don't go bananas on the downhills, because if you start, you'll actually tire out your glutes and your quads, your hamstrings more if you try to really build up steam. Take it nice and handy even on the downhills. Key there is to lean a bit forward rather than, if you lean back on the downhills, you engage your quads for no benefit. Almost help yourself fall into the descents. That's a nice running tip for you there. As I said, don't miss any aid stations. Look, Ironman charge enough to end here. I always take all the Morton gels I can, because listen, they're on £6 a pop, so I'm gonna eat as many as I can. Freed off the crowd energy. This part of the course is very, very full and all the rest, and there's lots of people there. Up here a little bit not so much, but they do make a big show of it, and the Portuguese come out and support this. It's a very well run event. So talk to people on the course, high five people, etc. Have a bit of fun with it. Make sure you have your finish line move ready. Don't do that classic, what time is it? And that's your finish line photo. Airplane, dab, whatever you want. Make sure you got it, because this is what it's all about. That's your finish line. That's what it's going to happen. Now, in fairness, may not get the same cannons as Javier Gomez did when he won it, but it's going to be a cool finish line. It is something to look forward to. Also, excuse me, I also tell people, as part of their pre-race familiarization, that they look at the finish line. Go start thinking about that when your legs are killing you into like 21k in the run. You have another 21k to go. Think about the finish line. Think about the crowd. So God, this is what it's all about. Okay, I hope you have an absolute awesome race day experience. But here's some things I would recommend you do in the last few weeks training, as in you're coming up to peak load. And it's specific to the core stuff we discussed. All right, so swim. It's a sea swim. Get into a wetsuit, get into the open water sea, swim. As I said, it's sheltered, so therefore you don't normally have a huge amount of chop, but do get used to swimming in waves, get used to drafting with your friends, get used to sighting. These are key skills you need to nail down. If not already, start nailing them down now. The bike, it's actually available. The actual bike course is available on the Full Gas app, where you can actually check it out and see what the course looks like, and you get a look and feel for it. If you have that app, it's a great option to have. But in terms of what I would recommend, people are hitting their milestone distance of at least 160, hopefully 180k in your long bike, so you can practice and tie down your nutrition, your hydration strategies, make sure all the equipment's working. As you can see, there are some punchy hills here. Include your hills on your long bike, because you don't want to suddenly be doing all your long bikes on flat courses, and then you've no power to get up the hills, or you've no skills descending. You got to throw these hills in. Work out your nutrition strategy. Talk about that little in the next slide. Hydration, how you're going to transport your food, what you're going to eat, how you're going to eat it, what's going to keep you on track, how you've got your reminder set up in your Garmin, etc., etc. Test your equipment. Do test runs. If you're using a parameter, make sure you test it out. Is it working well with your Garmin, etc., etc. Nail all the stuff down now. The run, as I said, I would get my athletes to at least hit a milestone distance of 28k to 38k on a long standalone run. Also, for off their long bikes, I get them to do 5 or 7k. If they're doing the long standalone runs, that stands to more, where they don't have to do these massive long bricks of like 12, 14k plus. There's hills in this course. You've got to include hills on your long runs, because again, no point doing it all flat, and then you suddenly on the second loop, a 14k loop, legs are falling off you because you've not had any hill work into hitting your hamstrings, your quads, your glutes. You need to have hills in your long runs. Again, what are you going to eat? How are you going to hydrate on these long runs? Practice, practice, practice. Okay. I've mentioned nutrition. As I said, it's something that you should be nailing down now, and you should be practicing. You should know what you're how you're going to eat, when you're going to eat, how you're going to get on board the required carbs, etc., and your calorie requirement. You should be practicing them in long bikes and also in your long runs. Again, a huge topic. I'm not going to go into it now, but again, I have a video there. If you check out the comments below, it'll talk you through how you should work out your calorie intake, your options in terms of what you could eat and when you could eat, and how you keep yourself on track. Okay. Equipment and apparel. What do I recommend for this course? Swim, it will be a wetsuit swim, goggles, swim hat. I do bring your own swim hat, because I recommend that you have 2 swim hats on, one your own one, and then you put your goggles on, and then you put your Ironman race hat on, a race swim cap, which you'll need to wear. And that essentially has the effect of holding your goggles in place in case someone does bump into you. Also keep your head warm. Tri-suit, or kind of, this is the debate as well. Should you wear a tri-suit? Should you wear a 2-piece? Should you wear change into dry cycling clothes, dry run clothes? Again, it depends on what you're looking for. There's a trade-off between speed and comfort. I outlined the options down in the video below in the comments. It's your own call. Spoiler alert, if you're a newbie and you're not worried about time, take the time, dry yourself, change, make sure it's more comfortable. Neck guard or body glide. A lot of my athletes suffer from getting a lot of wetsuit rash, and they kind of figure that out. So I make sure that they either have this neck guard, which is essentially, it's a kind of cool thing that puts around your neck. It's better than body glide. It's because it automatically covers all your neck, and it doesn't wear off. There's a video that shows you how that works. And I use body glide to actually put on my arms and my calves, because it helps the wetsuit come off quicker. Right, bike. TT road bike. As you can see, it's a lumpy enough bike, and so it's kind of there is flat, fast parts on this when you're on the coast. So for me, it's a TT bike course, but it also, you need to be comfortable doing being able to climb on the TT bike and descending. The descents aren't massively technical, but if you're less comfortable, if you're less comfortable descending or climbing on a TT bike, it might be a road bike. But if you put a gun to my head, it's a TT, but you can get away with a TT bike, and you do get a lot of benefit out of those flat and fast parts. Helmet, you'll need shades, bicycle shoes, and socks. Big fan of socks. Make sure you have 2 pairs of socks, one for the run, one for the bike. Take time, dry your feet. There's nothing as comforting as a pair of dry socks. And if you have wet socks going on the run, you'll end up with a blister, which makes for a very painful marathon. Race belt, hydration, Wayne and wind jacket. I go, oh, okay, sounds a bit controversial. It normally is quite a warm day in Cascais, but it is in October and the weather can change. So I tell people and my athletes, bring it and just take it, put it in your blue bag, because if it is cold or chilly, the weather does change, you can put it on. If you don't, you leave in the blue bag. The case is better to be looking at it than for it. Oh yeah, there's the body glide. Also, the run Loctite laces. If you don't know what Loctite laces is, essentially they're laces that turn your runners into slip-ons as such, so you can get into quicker, faster. There's video how much it saves you in time in the links below. If you don't have them, it's worth investing. I think they're only around €10, and there's there's link to Amazon in the comments below. Hat, visor, shades, socks, nutrition. Gonna call a little bit controversy here. I personally don't have any nutrition in my red bag. Why? Because there's loads of aid stations, and I plan to earn my money back by eating all of IRONMAN's kit. But if there's something specific that you want to eat and you practice with, and you're not comfortable with a Morton gel or like what's on the course, bring it. But for me, I always train with Morton gels. I'm quite used to taking them aboard. I can stomach bananas, etc. on the run, so I tend to not bring anything I need to carry. Post race, and there's our socks. Big fan. White bag, you'll have your change of clothes, where you're contacting your family, your kind of your phone, etc., and all the rest, and compression gear if you use it. Those are the key things I'd recommend in terms of equipment. So your big kind of debates are tri-suit or kind of cycle gear, running gear, bike, whether or not you're a road bike or TT bike, you've got the option. Your call. Okay, preparing to travel. This is going to, as you said, you probably will be sorting out soon enough, or you already have. If you're doing, you should have your hotel booked, you should have your flights booked. If not, as I said, give yourself a couple of days. As I said at the start of the video, don't turn up 2 days beforehand and there's a whole panic because you've forgotten something, or your bike gets damaged, or your bag gets lost. Give yourself the 3 days. Just for that 1 day, unbelievably important about keeping your stress levels low. But now's the time to kind of verify it. Your flight's booked the right day. Is everyone on the flight? Have you booked in your as the hotel close enough to the venue? I'm not allowed to book hotels anymore because I keep on booking in the wrong towns. My travel buddies take care of that. I coach them. They do the logistics. Transfer details. How are you going to get there? As I said, a key thing. Getting from the airport to Cascais, Cascais. Sorry, I was doing another video earlier. Cascais, you're talking about €30 in a taxi. Just, it's worth it. Plan out what you're going to do, what time you need to be there, what time you have to register, etc. Give yourself time. Key thing to do now is actually book a service before you head off for the bike, because you will have been doing a lot of long miles on it. Just make sure everything's purring. You don't want any sort of drama when you arrive on race site. How to pack, we'll talk about that now. Are you bringing a bike box? Are you going with teamtruck.eu or something similar? As in, it depends on your budget, depends on how comfortable you are unpacking or packing the bike. Check out whatever, again, what should drive this is what's going to be make you minimize your stress. Packing checklist, you should have a list for swim, bike, run. And also remember other stuff. You always see in the forums now, has anyone got a DO2 charger? Has anyone got a Garmin charger? Put all this list together. Your ID code, your Triathlon Ireland code if you're from Triathlon Ireland, your national race license, training gear because you're going to do some shakeout sessions. A lot to remember. However, there's a link below for a video on how to pack and also a downloadable checklist just to make your life easier. One thing I would recommend, and I'm a big fan on, is Apple iTags. If you are bringing a bike box, stick them in the bike box because then you know exactly where your bike is. It saved my bacon when I flew to Florida because the Aer Lingus guys were saying, no, it hasn't arrived. And I went, no, there you go. Here it is. That bike is over there. And they actually were able to find my bike so I could do Florida. So Apple AirTags, if you're traveling, great investment. I think with €30 or something, but just for peace of mind. Cool. Okay, so as I said, that's ready for you. As promised, here's the final kind of thing I'm going to help you out. I'm going to do a webinar where you'll have a chance to ask me any questions you have about the course, about your final day. Was it the final lead into your training? It's on Sunday, the 15th of October at 8 p.m. GMT. All you have to do to register is ping me on the email below, and I will add you to the list, and we'll send you an invite a couple of days beforehand. And hopefully we will help you deal with any last minute questions and nerves, anything that you might think is popping in your mind. How many Portaloos are on the course? What should I stop eating roughage before? What should I carb load, etc., etc. Happy to take everyone's questions. I do these. I've done a couple of these. We get around 50, 60 people in there. We're on for around an hour and a half, and we have answered everyone's questions. Really useful for you and a bit of fun for me. So do ping me if you'd like to be added to that mail list. Okay, guys. I hope that was useful. As I said, I wish you the best of luck in your final few weeks training. Almost there. It's going to be a great day out in Portugal. Super course. And I hope that you have an absolute belter of a race day. And this is me signing out.